All right, welcome back to the channel. Deontay Wilder gets a message from Iron Mike Tyson. Words of encouragement, which might be a little too little and too late. But let's talk about, man, what Mike Tyson had to say to Deontay Wilder. Some of it is really correct, but a lot of it, man, is just, man, it ain't hitting me right. It is not hitting me right. But let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Iron Mike Tyson, you know who he is, a boxing icon for sure, the former undisputed world champion. I do believe he is the youngest heavyweight world champion in history, has beat Larry Holmes, beat Michael Spinks, basically the best heavyweights coming out of the 1970s and the early 1980s. And Michael Spinks was a light heavyweight who beat Larry Holmes, and I do believe his only heavyweight fights. But anyway, Mike Tyson beat them, moved on to becoming an excellent fighter early in his career. Later on in his career, not so much. Got in some trouble with the law, came back out, won a championship again, but then lost his biggest fights that he had in what I would call the second phase of his career, against Evander Holyfield twice and against Lennox Lewis. But definitely a Hall of Fame fighter, and a name that if you start naming, just say, hey, name 5 boxers, right? You would say, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather Jr., and Thomas Hitman Hearns, right? Now or Sugar Ray Robinson or Joe Louis. But when you talk about the all-time great heavyweights or the all-time significant heavyweights in the history of boxing, Mike Tyson's name comes up. Now, he has a piece of advice for Deontay Wilder. Of course, Deontay Wilder is now the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, who just lost his title to Tyson Fury. He had defended his title 10 times, was a champion for 5 years, has knocked out over 40 people, and is a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. And I do not give a fat rat what you clowns say. He's going in there because you can't name 10 heavyweight boxers in the history of boxing that has done what I just said he did. So the dude is going in there. It is what it is. Get over it and get used to it. Now, Mike Tyson and Deontay Wilder, although they are both great American heavyweight champions, do not have and have never had a very warm relationship. And so Mike Tyson, for example, I do believe backed Tyson Fury. He also backed Anthony Joshua. Pretty much anybody that had an issue with Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury had something good to say. Mike Tyson had something good to say about that fighter. And just the general feel on Mike Tyson is that, he was never a big supporter of Deontay Wilder. Now, he has some advice for Deontay Wilder, and I think that the information is right. But it would be good, man, if Mike Tyson could reach out to Deontay Wilder, or they both reach out to each other and have a reasonable relationship with one another, man, because there really is a lot of similarities between the two, a lot of similarities in the way that those guys were treated in the media, and especially Mike Tyson in the second half of his career, where the guy literally could do nothing right, according to the media. But that's neither here nor there. So what Mike Tyson told Deontay Wilder was, get back in the ring and get your head right and get back out there. Absolutely great advice for Deontay Wilder. There's been a lot of talk about what Deontay Wilder needs to do to change for this next Tyson Fury fight that's supposed to come up. And quite honestly, don't know when it's going to happen, because there's a chance, and I so much hope this is not the case. But there's a chance that boxing might not come back at all in 2020. And if it does, there's only going to be, I guess Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury is one of the biggest, it probably is the biggest fight in boxing coming up. I know there was an announcement that Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin would be having their third fight. And it'd be really interesting to know what made that pop off, since Canelo Alvarez said that he wasn't going to be fighting Gennady Golovkin. But regardless, there's rumors that fight is going to happen. So maybe that could be considered a fight as big as Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. But, I'm not sure. But regardless, Deontay Wilder is going to be fighting for that rematch, taking that rematch. And there's conversations about what he can do in, conversation about what he should do, Deontay Wilder should do in preparation for that. There was talk about George Foreman working with Deontay Wilder. There was originally reports that Deontay Wilder had fired Mark Breland, but he turned around and said, that no, that's not the case. Now, what I believe happened was he probably had a very emotional reaction to Mark Breland and was like, get out. And, dealing with the fact that he just lost. But then his mind probably came back to him, was like, man, look, this guy, that's not Mark Breland's fault. Mark Breland was just doing what he was supposed to do. He was seeing me take punishment, and he decided, nah, we're going to end this. And, and Mark Breland did the right thing. And then Deontay Wilder did the right thing by bringing him back. But I do believe that Deontay Wilder does need to have, like Mike Tyson said, he needs to get back in the gym, and he needs to get his head right. But one of the things that I think he needs to get his head right about is that he really does need to add more wrinkles. He needs to add another wrinkle to his game, more wrinkles to his game, because, Tyson Fury is probably, he's probably figured him out, man, because you see a guy fight 40 times, you're watching him over and over and over again, and then people start seeing your tendencies, and Tyson Fury is uniquely suited to take advantage of Deontay Wilder's faults, because, Deontay Wilder he's a very tall and he's a very long fighter. So even though he's not as heavy as a lot of guys, he usually has a reach advantage over them. And Tyson Fury being taller than him and longer than him, and it also not having his whole glove in the dang hand, okay? And not having his whole hand in the glove, not having his hand in the glove extends his reach that much further. And it's just going to be a difficult thing to do, man. But here's the thing. Mike Tyson telling him to get back in the ring and get his head right, and get prepared for this next fight is the good move, because like people writing off Deontay Wilder for this next Tyson Fury fight in my mind is just, man, it's reasonable for people to say that because of the way that the last fight turned out. But if you really look at that fight a little more carefully, and also you look at the history of boxing, you'll see that you cannot count out, just because it's possible for one fight to turn out one way and the next fight to turn out radically different. So for example, the first Deontay Wilder fight, that was with Tyson Fury, that's a very close fight, wound up in a draw. The second fight was radically different. You could very well have, with just slight adjustments, the things go back to the first fight, and where you wind up with a very close fight, but Tyson Fury doesn't get up, right? You can look at that situation where there are fights like Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, where Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier was a very, very close fight. And then the second fight was a blowout, right? And then this third fight wound up going back to a very close fight where nobody expected it, because, Joe Frazier had already been knocked out by, I believe that Joe Frazier had already been knocked out by George Foreman at that time. Yeah, he had already been knocked out for George Foreman at the time of the third, and he might have been knocked out twice by George Foreman at that time. So people thought that Joe Frazier was just gone. But then you get back into the third fight, and it's a life and death fight. Same thing for Riddick Bowe. Those fights went back and forth. Riddick Bowe TKO'd Evander Holyfield. Then Evander Holyfield came back and beat Riddick Bowe. They had two close fights, and one fight was a TKO, right? You also have Ali Norton. Ali Norton was a situation where Foreman won. Norton broke his jaw in the first fight. They had the second fight. Ali wins the second fight, and then the third fight was a very close fight that people say could have went either way. So the situation with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury can easily turn out that way, because Deontay Wilder has the ability to knock Tyson Fury out. He can absolutely positively knock that dude's head off, and it's just a fact, right? And if he figures out what he needs to do to get there, then hey man, that works. But he has to, in order to do that, he has to get his head right, and he has to be able to say like, hey man, I can totally put that second fight behind me. I can get 100% into my training. He probably needs some rest, quite honestly. So this whole thing about boxing being delayed and all that stuff really could work to Deontay Wilder's favor, because he could get some rest that the dude has not had in several years. I mean, the guy has never taken a break. He really hasn't taken a break in a while. Even going back into the Tyson Fury fight right off the Luis Ortiz fight, it's like he never stopped training camp for the second fight. So, you know, you get more rest and you figure out what you're going to do. But, you know, as far as the Mike Tyson thing goes, I just would wish that, you know, I've got a video coming up about some crap that this dude Ishe Smith said, a guy that I used to support as a fighter when he was on his way up. You know, his career didn't pan out like he wanted it to, because he was a very, very good fight, but he's just, you know, he's a type of guy that would give anybody a tough fight, but doesn't necessarily, you know, get the calls when he should get the calls. But, you know, this hesitancy of American fighters to support other American fighters, it really just, I mean, it just boggles my mind, man. And I really wish that Mike Tyson and Deontay Wilder and, you know, and like Evander Holyfield has always been very supportive of Deontay Wilder, but you know, the Jerry Coonies, the Larry Holmes, you know, most of the great heavyweights other than George Foreman, you know, in the 1970s are gone. Well, but there's, you know, obviously Ernie Shavers, but Ernie Shavers, I don't think ever won a title. But, you know, basically the great American heavyweights, man, it would be great if they could get behind Deontay Wilder, support Deontay Wilder, you know, help him figure out what he needs to do to become a better fighter and get the championship and bring it back to the United States. But, you know, that would be entirely too much like right, and I don't expect it, and I definitely don't expect that out of Tyson Fury. But you let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.